I'm going to try and give a really quick summary on the different types for you because I don't see anybody else channeling about it, although I do see other people describing the other types of twins, even though they're lumping it all under the same category as twin flames. I a little bit see, like, you can look up the term twin rays and monadic twins, but what you find is different to what I'm channeling. And since you're a new follow also, I just want to let you know that I connect directly to Jesus. I know that sounds weird. It never gets comfortable saying, just not comfortable, but like, I just know it sounds weird, so it always feels weird saying that. But for a long story, going into all of the spiritual warfare that I had to defeat in my own journey, I just got to a point where I just started going straight to him because it was the safest and the most secure and the most accurate. So everything that I channel about twins is straight from him. So anyway, so a quick explanation. I did mention in my reading that I'm going to be recording soon explaining about the twin flame quads more, which is a big part of the different types. But quick, long story short, it really is a long story. Like, when I have to explain this in readings to explain to someone what type of twin they are, it takes me like 20 minutes. But I did mention about it's an earth school. So souls come here, they go through a soul ascension cycle to learn all the necessary lessons. After completing their soul ascension cycle, they graduate, so to speak, and ascend. And at the completion, they're ready to level up. So the first soul, individual soul comes, that's the divine feminine soul that I talked about. When the divine feminine's original soul completes her first soul ascension cycle, if she's ready and she chooses to, levels up and becomes the first type of twin, which is a monadic twin soul. The monadic twin souls do not have a soul split yet. They are a single soul still. There's more, it's very complex to understand, and I don't even know, I still need to discuss it more with spirit. But internally, there's more separation, I guess, between divine masculine and divine feminine energy. That is something that they have to go through the process of healing and balancing and kind of making whole again on their next soul ascension cycle. A soul ascension cycle is 12,000 years for, not for anything, for all souls. A planetary ascension cycle is 26,000 years, which you may have heard. A soul ascension cycle is 12,000 years, and there's 2 soul ascension cycles and 1 planetary ascension cycle. And the extra 2,000 years is the transitory periods between the beginning and end of the planetary cycles. So anyway, so the monadic twin souls are basically going through like a mini twin flame journey. They are not yet a soul split, but they are experiencing what a twin flame journey is like in preparation for when they become a soul split. Monadic, there's actually, even within that type, there's multiple types of monadic twins, meaning that some of them are 100% solo. They're not going to meet anyone else that they come into union with. They're going to come into union. All monadic twin souls come into union in themselves, within themselves, but they don't necessarily find a match. There's a group of them that stay solo. There's a group that will find a match, but their match, their twin soul that they are referring to is not an actual soul split. It's not someone that they feel like they are going to die without, like so many of us experience when in the separation phase of the twin flame journey, right? So they can live without that other soul, but they are much better for coming together with them. Like, they experience that heightened frequency and energetic everything that comes along with union from finding that match. And what it is, it's another soul that came from the same soul energy blueprint, even though they don't have the soul split. So they're drawn together by having that same frequency match, but they don't have the soul split that pulls them together. So they can live without that person, basically. Those types are more likely to be able to be platonic. They could even be family members as well. They don't have that strong romantic desire that tends to go along with the majority of twins. Then there's some others that mimic the quads, and I'm not even going to get into that when it comes to the monadic twin souls, but just basically they mimic the other twins as all part of the experience in preparation for the future. So that's the first type of twin, monadic twin souls. Then the next type of twin had the completion of the monadic twin soul ascension cycle. They graduate. That soul, it's an individual, not they. The individual graduates, ascends. That's when the first soul split happens. And that first soul split, when that first soul split happens, they become, or I keep saying they, sorry, the soul becomes twin rays. And actually, Spirit has given me very specific terminology. I think because for our human brains, it helps for understanding the differences and not continuing to lump them all into one category. Because twin flames is like the big broad category, but within it, it's a tree that keeps branching. And so this is going to give us greater understanding of the different types and then the differences between them, so that we can stop lumping them all together and saying, if you're experiencing this, that's wrong. No, that's not wrong. It's just for that type. Someone else might be a different type. So anyway, so this first type of twin rays is first generation differential twin rays. And it's the first time the soul split happens. There's only 2 of them. And the differential aspect means that they still retain each of their own free will. Free will is not shared between them. They also, for all twins, there are different degrees of how much soul will overrides free will. This is something that I talk about and channel about in terms of, for traditional twin flames, which is what I was channeling about originally until I started getting about the different types. Soul will overrides free will. But now that I know about the different types, I know that that varies. So for that type of twin ray, the first generation differential twin rays, soul will only affects free will by 30%. So free will overrides soul will actually for this first group by 70%. Soul will is only 30%, free will is 70%. So there's much more ability to choose a different path, to choose to be platonic, and many of that group won't achieve union during this lifetime, because their free will take them down a different path. Then at the completion of the soul ascension cycle for that first type of twin ray, they will reunite. So this is something that is very complex as well. I have to discuss it more with Spirit for exactly how it happens, but for all our intents and purposes, the soul reunites and then it splits 4 ways. And Spirit was very specific in the terminology that they used to explain this to me. So first the soul splits into the divine feminine essence and the divine masculine essence, and then each of those splits again, so that there are 2 divine feminines and 2 divine masculines. And the 4 is the twin flame quad. This is we'll say the identical twin flame quad. And that is comprised of the first two primary members, which are the first generation identical twin flames. And the second 2 members, or the third and the fourth member, are the second generation identical twin rays. So there's 2 different types of twin rays, differential twin rays and identical twin rays, hence the first generation and the second generation. The identical aspect applies to both the twin flames and the twin rays. The identical means that they share the free will between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Let me also clarify, this is not a throuple. You are not all coming together. You might have relationships with the other twins in your quad, not always, sometimes, but those are not, and it will feel like a twin also, but it's still meant to be temporary. When that happens, it mimics whatever it is that you need to experience. It might mimic a karmic relationship, it might mimic a soulmate relationship, it might mimic a twin flame journey, but it's only to serve a purpose, and you are not meant to come back together with that person. Sometimes it can end up feeling like a false twin, but it's one of your twin rays from your quad who is just serving a purpose on the journey. So for I'm almost out of time. the identical twin rays, soul will overrides free will by 60%. For the identical twin flames, soul will overrides free will by 95%. And the free will that they do have is shared between the two, and the divine feminine leads it and controls it, and the divine masculine follows. I'm going to be recording more soon. Since I ran out of time, I just want to say a couple more things real quick about the different types. One of the biggest reasons why people are experiencing different things is because the identical twin flames, who are the first two members of the twin flame quad, they are, as Spirit has told me, guaranteed for union in this lifetime. As I said, soul will overrides free will by 95% for that group. Sorry, my phone was acting up. So because soul will is so strong and overpowering for that group, that's one reason why. You could see that as a cause and effect. But the other reason why is from a higher level, a higher spiritual level, like 5D or above, the soul contract. Are the souls for the identical twin flame. Sorry, it's easy to get jumbled up in your words on this. They have already been through so much that they are completely ready for union, and their souls have agreed to assist with the beginning of ascension. And the unions of the twins for that group, the identical twin flames, the first two members of the quad, their unions are laying the groundwork of ascension and laying the groundwork of new earth. This is even more complex, to be honest. I channeled for a workshop for the spring equinox about what happens to the twins in Atlantis. That particular group was in Atlantis in union, and actually during the golden age of Atlantis, enjoying the bliss of union. Like, they had basically completed a cycle, a journey somewhere else on another 3D planet, had come here to enjoy union, and then the fall of Atlantis and the dark taking over the planet ripped them apart. And so that's part of the reason for their soul contracts being so strong in coming into union and helping to reclaim Earth. Because when I channeled that, I literally, it was like I re-experienced that, not just the separation. That's like, it feels minor to say it that way. I didn't just re-experience the separation from each other because the dark ripped apart the twin flames, because the twin flames were the only souls powerful enough to stop the dark from taking over the planet. But on top of that, I re-experienced the way the soul was ripped from the body, because in the fall of Atlantis, which was also the culmination of the descension of Earth down to 3D, our bodies could not hold the higher frequencies anymore, and our bodies had to shift from crystalline and higher frequency light bodies to 3D carbon-based bodies, and the soul could not stay merged with our bodies the way it's supposed to be. So I actually re-experienced the soul split from our higher self splitting from, I shouldn't say soul split because that gets confusing with twin flame, but I re-experienced our higher selves being separated from our physical bodies because it was necessary to continue life on Earth because of what was happening. And there's a whole lot more I could go into about that, which I plan to do at length at another time. But anyway, so this is why that group of twins has soul will overriding free will so much. You know, it has to do with where they're at in their natural progression of being twin flames and continuing to level up as they go along in their soul ascension cycles and soul growth processes. But it also has to do with them being here on Earth when all of that occurred. And there's something, I remembered what I was going to say. And when the dark took over the planet. Now, the one caveat I will throw in there that we have to keep in mind, like I'm explaining that from our 3D perspective, that the dark took over the planet. We also have to understand that from a higher perspective, that was all part of the bigger, grander plan. The dark was supposed to take over the planet. It was part of the planetary growth experience and the humanity's growth experience for those who chose to live here and be here and go through it. So anyway, But that group is like 100% committed to reclaiming the planet for the light and defeating the dark, and that's why they're 100% in. They're soul contracted to come into union in this lifetime to lay the groundwork of ascension and to be the front. What do they call it when soldiers go to war? They're the front lines against in battling the dark. That's why they also go through the most spiritual warfare as well. So that is the identical twin flames from the quads. The identical twin rays from the quads, they have soul will affect free will by 60%. So soul will is more than free will, but they still have more free will to be able to make choices that they want to make. They can go on more detours. They can resist the connection more, fight the connection more. They're not 100% ready for union. The twin rays, both groups of twin rays are not guaranteed to come into union in this lifetime, but they can. They can achieve union if they choose to follow the twin flame path and work through all of their necessary lessons. It's up to them. They have to use their free will more to make those decisions and not fight the journey so much. The identical twin rays, Spirit has told me that they are still 90% guaranteed to come into union, but you just have to keep in mind that they do have those free will choices. However, remember what I said before, the Divine Feminine leads the free will. For the identical twin rays, they share the free will between the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine, and the Divine Feminine leads. So if the Divine Feminine chooses not to give up and the Divine Feminine follows through no matter what, the Divine Masculine leads. The Divine Masculine cannot choose to give up or walk away from this connection. They just have to work through the process. The differential twin rays retain their own individual free will still. So each of them has a choice in what they do in this lifetime. The differential twin rays are only 20% guaranteed to come into union. So there's a big difference between those two different types of twin rays. And the twin rays in general, they just have a lot more that they still need to achieve on the course of their twin flame journey. The twin flames, the identical twin flames who are 100% guaranteed for union, they have already achieved everything or accomplished everything that they were supposed to do. They might still be wrapping up some cycles, you could say, in this lifetime, but they're far enough along that there's no concern there. Whereas the twin rays, they may or may not make it all the way through in this lifetime. But there's a reason for that too when it comes to the soul contracts. The twin rays, obviously, they, have one less soul ascension cycle in the process from the twin flames. So, they aren't as far along, they aren't as advanced. That's one aspect to it. But as far as the soul contracts go, the twin rays have agreed to assist with the middle and the end of ascension. So the twin flames are laying the groundwork now. The twin rays will be helping the continuation of ascension as it continues, because ascension is approximately 1,000 years or so before Earth levels up to 9D, the ninth dimension. And so the twin rays will be assisting along the way, and they might come into union in this next lifetime or the one after that. It actually, Spirit has told me that doesn't mean that they won't end up together. Twin rays can actually still end up together or be together in this lifetime, but they won't fully ascend. Well, they might not fully ascend yet and reach that complete union ascension in the next lifetime, because the union is not just about being together. It is also about the ascension and completing the ascension process and completing the re-merge or reunification of our higher selves with our bodies as well. So that's something to keep in mind about the twin rays, that they are definitely assisting with the middle and end of ascension. And so what happens in this particular lifetime depends on them and their choices, since they have more free will. And honestly, it just comes down to the specifics of each of their journeys at that point. But that's why you see so many different experiences from people, and from what readers talk about as well. You have some telling you, give up on your twin flame. They're just a catalyst for your spiritual awakening. You don't need them. Those are going to be twin rays who they're not contracted to come into union in this lifetime, and they think that they don't need to. They think they can do it alone. Then you have the twin flames who are like, what are you talking about? Like, I can't live without this person. So this is why you see such a broad variety of advice and guidance and experiences. And that's why I think it's important to be able to differentiate between the type so that you understand what is meant for you and can find the right guidance.